Hello, everybody. It is Thursday, 9 p.m. So, of course, that means it's UK Cowboys time. How are we all doing, guys?
Not too bad, not too bad. Stuffed my face.
All good. Yeah. Well, it is, of course, April. And I know it's April Fool's Day, but ignore that. But April means it is draft month. Mm-hmm. My favorite time of all. Yes, this week, guys, welcome everybody. We have the Godfather with us, Jamie joining us, and we have the Bay City and Rollers of UK Cowboys. We've got Paul, Graham, and Lorne with us.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
next will be wet.
He never lets us down, does he?
No, he does not.
I practiced that intro for hours on a Thursday. Yes, it is, of course, as we mentioned, guys, back here again. This week, we're looking at day 1 and day 2 options. So everybody been doing their homework and looking into this. But, of course, before we go anywhere, we always start with news and updates. But before we go any further, there is something that I just wanted to get to. Last week, record-breaking show, over 4,000 of you joined us. Thank you very much. But a big one we want to say is thank you for everyone who sends in the comments and joins in. You are the MVPs, but it's not just the UK or the States that join in. It's everyone else around the world as well. Thank you very much, guys. We appreciate it.
Not just America's team, the world's team.
We're setting the standards.
I surely would. I should really get that statement copyrighted. I really should. Like ever since I said that in that ESPN interview back in Thanksgiving 2017, everyone's been bloody much saying it now.
Yeah. The UK Cowboys one is.
That's my claim to fame.
The one that we always use is not just America's team. So slightly there, slightly not, but there we go. But some good news before we get into news and updates. Some news coming out that we are coming out of lockdown. Yay!
Well, some of you are.
Some of you are. We've come out a little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
We're much later.
So what's the news then? Is they just holding back in Scotland then?
Yeah.
Yeah, but just pretty much wait to see what if Boris Johnson's going to screw up, pretty much. And Nicola's going to be like, but it is what it is, But
that's very true. It is what it is. Yeah. But then, right, guys, let us start off the show with, as we do every week, because there has been a lot of news, especially in terms of the draft. Let's get into the news and updates. So first of all, the big news about the NFL in general. Big one is that we are going to 17-game season. The 17th game for the Cowboys is the Patriots. But that going forward also means 3 preseason games. So it's still the same amount of games in a roundabout way. But what do you guys think of the extra football, the extra regular season?
I'm happy about it.
I can see why the fans are happy about it, and I can see why the players, most of the players, hate it. I think the special teamers will love it because I think part of the negotiations was that there'll be more players on the team, and there will be bigger paychecks paid out as well. So if you're on league minimum, you're going to get a little bit more money. I can see why the starting QBs will hate it because it's obviously more damage to their bodies. But if you're on a practice squad, if you're on a special teams, you love that news.
But this has been muted since they were doing the CBA agreement back in 2019, and I think there is something in place that limits the number of snaps that players can actually take, which is why the rosters are likely to expand as well. So, and I think ultimately the owners are looking to go to an 18-game season and drop another preseason game.
For the owners, it makes sense. It's ticket sales.
Yeah. Because I mean the preseason games, a lot of them are freebie tickets are given away as hospitality and things like that, because there's not a lot of the season ticket holders want to go and see third and fourth string guys or guys that are likely to hit the street shortly, playing.
It's interesting if any of you watch Ballers, towards the end of the last season of Ballers, they talked about the 18-game season, and a lot of the kind of players were suggesting that we wouldn't be happy if our work asked us to do like 6 days a week,
6-day
or
season.
if they took a week of paid leave off of us. But it swings and roundabouts, because I was reading a column on the NFL website the other day. Some of the top players in the league will stand to make an extra $1 million. Like, I think Jared Goff stands to make an extra $1 million off the 17th game. So it's not all bad, let's face it.
Yeah. $1 million is better than your pocket. I mean, Scott, can you imagine if you all had $1 million to spend on?
And this is one of the reasons. This is one of the reasons why the salary cap is going to expand astronomically in the next couple of years. Is that this was one of the agreements that there would be more of the total revenue given up to the salary cap. So obviously we've seen the TV deals coming in, averaging 11 billion a season. If you get full stadiums and everything like that, and obviously those prices go up by a little amount each year and everything like that. So it's adding to the pot. And again, as we say, the salary cap is going to go up astronomically.
Here's a wee question for you. Do you think? I think this is something you might want to bring in as well, Mike, as regards to the international series games. Do you think this extra games? Do you think this extra game a season is actually kind of helping stabilize that whole?
It does.
It really does stabilize it. Like, whereas you can still get your 8 games a season, but whereas that one game, it's always going abroad. Doesn't matter.
And bear in mind, they only do that once, so they lose. So the 17 game flips back and forth. So 1 year it's AFC, 1 year it's NFC.
Yeah.
Then once every 8 years, one of those home games goes abroad, whether it's Mexico, Germany, Canada, or the UK. So basically, there will be that one time in a decade that they lose a home game. But in terms of the 8 games, the standard 8 games that they get in the turnstiles, that stays the same.
I think it helps that in that, like Paul said, the international series as well, like you say, because look at teams that are still yet to come over. Like no one's going to, no one's going to give up the Packers. Everyone always saw that. I think it helps, I don't, because like you say, you can essentially, although it flips around, like I say, 1 year it's NFC, 1 year it's AFC. You can sell it by saying, well, actually, this is going to technically be a neutral game, can't you? Rather than, right, you lose the Packers form, but go play the Packers in Germany, for instance, and you're not going to lose your income from what you would that game. I think it's a good selling point for the NFL.
In a way, like for market value for these players as well to go overseas as well, it actually kind of makes more sense even for that extra game. Like they're not actually trying to be missing out; they're actually trying to get a lot more revenue coming in from different sponsorships across the pond that way as well. So there's that perspective as well.
I think as well with how it's
100%.
Essentially over here, where we've gone from one to then multiple games over here. I think it's kind of the next progression in it, like I say, because once you start making these moves, you can't really all of a sudden sit there and say, well, you know what, we'll go to X amount of games in England, then we'll just completely leave the national series completely, because, like I say, it's backwards.
And a big one as well is what you got to think about is the cap is based on revenue. So if they're just sticking to the United States, then really you're only marketing yourself to one country. This way, they're trying to market themselves globally. So that's only going to increase cap space for teams, which means that you get to have more of those players you love. But okay, moving on from that, we moved into the international series. Also, Pro Day crazy at the moment. There's some crazy numbers coming out. we were talking about this before we came on air. It is unfortunately the only numbers that we have in terms of their athletic and measurement traits. But we always do it. Take pro days with a pinch of salt, because there's all sorts of reasons why these numbers are exploding at the moment. A number of reasons: wind on your back, running downhill, all the rest of it. It all happens on pro days. But they're the only numbers we've got. So
yeah,
that's all I can say on that one.
Yeah, there was one team that had their pro day in the middle of snow. So, the guys were obviously running slow times that day because they were running into the snow, where guys like Ohio State, they're inside the bubble, they're running downhill. I think
they're running downhill.
Like, it's a 10-degree incline or decline.
That's correct.
So they're getting a nice wee burst of speed, gravity helping them.
Fucking Ohio State.
With some of them 40 times, like some of them were running with rocket fuel up their ass.
It's just a lot of things, like running with the wind on your back and everything. But you think when they're in Lucas Oil Stadium, it's in a control and it's closed. It's a closed dome, so you know exactly what you get in there. So that's the only thing. But I want to move on to this one. So first of all, as I said, it's draft month. Hey. And we've already had 2 big trades. So first of all, let's talk about this one, guys. The 49ers Miami trade. So the San Francisco 49ers gave up quite a handsome handful for this, but they now pick 3rd. What are you guys making just initially on the front? And then we'll talk about what we think they're going to do with that pick. But what do you guys all think about that pick initially?
One word: retarded.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's a huge gamble. I think it shows that the 49ers have basically said to the world, we're off to the Super Bowl and we're looking for that one missing piece, because they've effectively mortgaged the future to go and do it. So they think they're not far away. Now, granted, if you asked me that question last July, I would have said maybe. And then they go and have a horrendous season injury-wise, and Jimmy Garoppolo isn't who he's supposed to be, and they start losing offensive talent left, right, and centre, and the rest of it. But to go and do something like that, you're going up for a quarterback. You're not going up for a wide receiver like that. And if they want to take Mac Jones after his pro day, they better rethink things, because it was not a sweet pro day.
I'll be honest, man.
It was.
I'll be honest. It wouldn't surprise me if they went for Chase, the wide receiver. It wouldn't surprise me to do go wide receiver, because it just seems something what San Francisco might actually do, something stupid. So,
do you know that? Were you saying that, Paul? So I don't think I'll be able to describe it in one word, and I think obviously Mike was saying the trades, and you'll probably go to the next one, but that's all. Miami's come out of this on top.
Miami are laughing right now. They are literally laughing right now. With they've done what they would. Have you seen the amount of draft picks they've got? Not this year, but the next coming years.
Yeah. Well, here you go. They have 14 draft picks in the top 100 over the next 3 years.
It just goes to show. Sorry, Jay. On you go.
No, sorry, go.
It just goes to show what you can do when you have your quarterback. They're obviously going to run with Tua, so they've taken 3, which they got from the Laramie Tunsil trade. Just think about that.
Then there's the Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, so they've got their QB, so they've effectively said, right, let's dilute this and send it further down the line. We still get our top 10 pick, the way it worked out, but we've got X amount of extra goodies to look forward to in the future as well. It's a masterstroke.
And I think it's safe to say. I think it might be safe to say they probably will be going for wide receiver in this draft. Miami, yeah.
They
could take Kyle Pitts.
With how it's worked out, the receiver that they were probably going to target at 3, they're probably going to get him at 6.
Yep.
Because the quarterbacks are going to push everybody down.
Yeah. Because bear in mind, although we've already said, you've got your 4 quarterbacks that we know that's going to go in what order you want to go in, but we still haven't taken into account Panthers need a quarterback and the Patriots need a quarterback. So I still think that on draft day you're going to see another trade to get up and get the next. Because once those quarterbacks start coming off the board, you're going to see itchy trigger fingers.
Yep.
I think most of this is down. Sorry, Lon, on you go.
No. I was going to say Miami have actually pulled a masterstroke because, we're sitting here talking that potentially you've got 4 quarterbacks going in the first 4 picks because Atlanta are probably looking for somebody to take over from Matt Ryan.
That's another one
there. So Miami potentially they're talking. They've got Pitts. They've got the choice of pretty much all the wide receivers that are going to be there. Possibly even Sewell, Rashawn Slater, whoever, they're in a masterstroke. And again, if they don't like any of these, again, they can jumble around the first round, drop another couple of picks and pick up more.
Yeah, and another thing as well is another thing that it goes back to is the salary cap. They're actually not spending as much in the cap from the top 3 pick now moving back down again. So it's a bit of a was it like a good couple of $1 million against the cap or something like that, something different?
Yeah.
So
it can be,
So either way, they're saving quite a bit.
I mean, see, for me, this all comes down to the GMs of the league. They've effectively said to their head coaches, right, is our QB going to sell jerseys, and is our QB going to get us to the playoffs? Because if he's not, let's go and get another QB. So everybody wants to win now. So that's why these guys are going 1, 2, 3, 4. Are they the top 4 talents in the draft? No, not even close. But if you don't have your QB, you're not going to win. And every GM in the league wants to win. And these guys are not ready to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Absolutely.
Do you think there's more pressure now on the Falcons just for the fact that essentially, unless the Jets, surprises on, don't go some sort of QB because they obviously eventually need to find an heir apparent to Matt Ryan. But now, I think there's more pressure on them in terms of if they can't get a trade, that they have no choice but to take a QB and not risk maybe the draft class in a couple of years. Whereas if someone kind of came up with a trade, they can have that pressure taken away because it's like, well, actually, help build our squad a little bit more here by getting some backup and moving back. That makes sense.
We might see a Fonte Matt trade coming back in. Who knows?
This is the silly thing for me. I mean, see if you take the Falcons, for instance, at 4. Arthur Smith is the new head coach there. He has no ties to Matt Ryan whatsoever.
Yeah.
Nope.
But there is still pressure for him to go and take a quarterback, even if he's not ready. So his career in Atlanta is basically going to be tied to the quarterback that he picks next. So he could get away with having Matt Ryan for 1 more year and then just tough it out with a 2nd or a 3rd round pick and develop him from there. Is taking a quarterback at 4 going to solve Atlanta's problems? It's not.
No.
It's not. So I don't see the rush for all these kind of half-baked QBs because none of them, I don't think, are ready to step in the playoffs.
I don't understand. I don't think any of personally for me, I don't think any of the quarterbacks are necessarily pro-ready. Like that, if that, remember the term we heard that all the time, pro-ready, pro-system, all that type of stuff. I mean, you could say Lawrence, but I still have my doubts about him.
Lawrence has not played in a pro system at all. Lawrence plays in an RPO screen system. In fact, just to let you know, of all the top 5, the entire draft class this year of quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence is number 1 in screen yards.
It means absolute shit.
But no, what it means is that it's a lot of dump offs to his wide receivers. He knows good wide receivers
and running backs as well.
And running backs, yeah. Because that was a big part, especially last season. A lot of screens and dump offs to running backs. But moving on to the other trade that happened, this actually now means the Dallas Cowboys are the first team to draft this year in the NFC East, because the Philadelphia Eagles traded back with Miami, who now are picking again in there, meaning that Philadelphia pick at number 12. The Cowboys now the first NFC East team, which means good news. It's good news. Going back to the Kyle Pitts conversation, he's not going to be in the NFC East unless it's with the Cowboys.
That's what I'm afraid to say.
Well, I'm just saying it is good news because we don't have to face him. No, we don't have to face him now.
I'm not so sure.
Hear me out. Hear me out. I reckon there's going to be a weird scenario where we're going to have a decision where the Cowboys will trade back or something like that, or if Pitts is still there, we pass up on him. It's either going to go to New York or it's going to go to the Shields.
We'll go to New York if we but do you know what, though? We said we could be in a very intriguing position, because if you just assume it's going to be 4 quarterbacks, first 4 picks, there's a lot of
I think it'd be fine.
That the Bengals are going to go wide receiver as well. How deep?
They very well could. In fact, what if the Bengals took Pitts? Bengals could take Pitts.
Yeah, so but I think that a lot of it will come from Joe Burrow, what he'll say. Look,
I'm sorry, I'm just not sold on picking Pitts. I'm not sold on it. I'm not. Even if he's there, even if he's okay. I do not want him.
I know we talk about this all the time.
But here's my question. Can he bloody block?
I would just say that we could be in that intriguing position that the best tight end in the draft could be there.
Put it this way.
So the best could be there at 10. So it's like, and then the best corner could be there. So it's like, pick your poison, doesn't it?
Yeah, Kyle Pitts can block. In fact, he has a higher blocking grade than Kittle and Waddle by a long way when they came out. Higher.
Okay, that shuts my conversation up then.
And you're talking about two. You're talking about 2 guys that are in the top 4 of tight ends.
I know we.
In fact, I think. Go on, Jake. Go on. I keep interrupting you. Sorry.
I know last week that maybe the ideal option would be to move back, maybe pick up JC on, but I can't see JC on going anywhere after 12. So you can't move back.
He'll be gone before.
That's what I'm saying. So yeah. I don't. You can't go back to further than 12.
I think the biggest thing. Sorry, Jay. I keep knocking you out, man.
No, you've frozen out there, Mike.
Yeah, you were frozen, Mike. Yeah.
Oh, did I? Sorry. Yeah. I do apologize. Yeah. But I was the biggest thing the Cowboys are hoping is that Pitts is taken before they get back, because otherwise they're in a kerfuffle.
I hope so. We don't need to worry about it.
Because let me put it to you this way, because you were with us then as well, Paul, in 1998. And this is what's going to stick in Jerry Jones's mind, that he went for team need over pick. And who did he pass up on? Hall of Famer Randy Moss. And he even speaks to this day that he is absolutely gutted he did that.
Yep.
And he'd be doing the same again with Pitts.
But to be fair, though, and in fairness, though, the guy that we did draft in, he actually had a fair, okay career. The Cowboys.
You can't argue with the pick. Yeah, Greg Ellis. And Greg Ellis, especially in the early 2000s, was one of the players that kept this team afloat.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think the contribution, I mean, he came back from a very bad leg break and everything like that, and still recorded, I think it was 8 sacks that next season. with a rod in his leg, and which he ended up having to have the rod taken out at the end of the following season. You know, the guy still contributed, but yes,
definitely.
You know, you can't really compare Randy Moss to Greg Ellis because they don't play the same position. Randy Moss took it as fuel the fact that he was passed up by 23 other teams, I think.
Yeah.
24th pick.
Yeah, the point to prove.
He had a point to prove that everybody passed up on him. You know, so he was definitely coming and ball out, but he still bounced around the league to 2 or 3 teams, partially because there was a bit of off the field issues with him. That you know, he became too big for his boots in some respects, and that's why the team got rid of him.
I take all this. I take all the kind of. We all need to take it with a pinch of salt because think of the players that we could have had through the years. It's not just Randy Moss. I mean, if people knew who Randy Moss was going to be, he'd have gone in the top 5. So I mean,
he was.
The Cowboys passed up on Randy Moss, but so did everybody else.
That year, mind, in 1998, he was Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, but
people knew who he was.
But if people knew why did he go in the mid-20s? Then that's my point.
Character issues. He had the character issue flag.
It was down to his character.
He had the character issue flag. Is what the issue was.
But to go back to the Pitts conversation, I would love Pitts to fall to 10 because if Pitts is there at 10, the phone's going to start ringing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get what we want. I don't think it will be Kyle Pitts. I think certainly with our cornerbacks. I know we're chipping into the rest of the show, but our cornerback situation lends itself. I mean, if we take Pitts with our cornerback situation the way it is, good grief. That's all I can say.
I mean, the way I see it is, that Broncos are a bit of that one where I'm like that with them. But the way I see it is that there's 8 offensive players going in the first 8 picks. Broncos are my one where I'm not sure of. So you think once it gets to the Cowboys, that's a crazy amount of defensive talent that's going to be there.
When you mention the Broncos,
sorry, Paul.
I was going to say when you mentioned the Broncos there, first thing I thought was Kyle Pitts would be the next Shannon Sharp.
Yep.
Yeah. Regular listeners to the show.
He's got all the potential.
Regular listeners
the
to the
floor
show,
and the ceiling for Pitts is just it's up. It's huge. It's massive.
I like to throw out predictions. Watch for the Eagles jumping up to 10.
Ooh.
There's one for you because they want to jump ahead. They want to jump ahead of the Giants.
I don't think the Cowboys would ever trade with an NFC East team.
If I was me, I would do the whole. Who was that running back for the Saints? Like, I want the whole draft. I want all your picks.
Yep.
For this one pick. That's what I'd be like. Fuck you, Eagles.
I watched it a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, it was like Eagles fans' reactions to when we took CD Lamb last year, and then it kind of the studio stuff from ESPN, and it was saying that they were saying although we didn't just necessarily need a wide receiver, it was a smart pick by the Cowboys because why would you then let the best wide receiver in the class be rival? So you take that option away from them. So like I said, I don't think they would trade to the Eagles.
It happens.
It does, yeah. But I just think, especially like I say, what talent would be there. I think if it were further down, then I think we might get to see. But like I say, I agree with Grendel saying that I could see him being on the call. Like, I just think Jerry would be like, on your bike.
Yeah. Look, I mean, put it this way: if the Patriots don't go up in the draft to get a quarterback, which they may not, if 5 go off the board, then I could see the Cowboys at 10 and Kyle Pitts is there. Now the phone's ringing because Kyle Pitts has got New England Patriots written all over him. And we know how much Belichick loves his tight ends. I know they took 2 big tight ends in free agency, but I think with Belichick, that don't matter. He does not care. He's going to get the best guys on the field. And he will use 12-man just to suck up, he'll use 12-man formations just to suck up that formation to use what he's got. I can just see it. It's got him all over.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Mike. They've spent an awful lot of money in tight ends, but like you say,
it's Belichick.
There's every chance they could play Pitts or Henry at slot. There's every chance.
Yeah. Yep. And Pitts as well, bear in mind, played in a slot and he played out as a lone wide receiver too. And every time he won. So, that's the sort of guy Belichick likes, versatility, positionless football, and we know he loves his tight ends and he will absolutely shred that formation. He's what you'll also look at, I know we're talking about the Patriots a bit much here, but the tight ends, the 2 that he's got. So you've got Jonnu Smith, who you could say in Tennessee was a bit of a product of their style of football because it does utilize the tight ends a lot. But you've also got Hunter Henry, who has question marks about his health. So you go, okay, well, let's cover ourselves. Take the best guy, trade up, let's go get him. That's very a Belichick move.
See, do you know what, like you said, I know we talked about the Patriots, but you know what would be the fact of that? What if it comes from, like you said, we've got to trade, the Patriots have moved up, and there's 2 quarterbacks left on there. So one of the top 4 quarterbacks plus Mac Jones. A lot of people saying that it would. I think we spoke about it, didn't we? All of us a couple of days ago, saying that he suits the Patriots offense of that, to being able to just dump it off the 2 tight ends. So it would now, especially for the draft show now, would it be like look for a quarterback or they're moving up for Kyle Pitts because Kyle Pitts is there, it's like, this could be either or, couldn't it?
It's going to be very, very tasty. So let's get into it then, right, guys? But before we end up just talking about the Patriots and becomes the UK Patriots show, let me get some of your guys' opinions, because it's day 1 and day 2 option show. As well at home, let us know what you think. DJ Dog, good to see you, brother, coming all the way from down under. He already brought up a good point that I was going to ask you guys. Yep. For you, is Caleb Farley off as an option altogether in round 1, day 1?
Round 1, yeah. It's a huge risk. I think I said a couple of weeks ago, there's a slight hint of Jalen Smith about this. First round talent, second round body, in terms that you can't spend all that guaranteed money when you consider you effectively don't know if you're going to get the same player, because you can't mess about with back stuff. I think you'll see Fairley fall, but not too far. I think somebody will snap him in the second round. If he's sitting there early day 2, the phone will ring, without a doubt.
Even more so the fact I say, if you say day 1 options, you consider the fact that, just for instance, we trade for 10. I couldn't justify personally taking him at 10 because he's had, like I say, 2 back surgeries in the off season, and I can't remember if it was Paul or Graham touched on it last week, that if you're at 10 and you're picking someone, top 10 pick, he has to start, and I just don't know if we can trust to get him to start and play a lot of games this year.
Okay.
I think there's still a possibility that he goes very late first round. I mean, late 20s, right down to the Buccaneers could still take him at 32. But yeah, I think he's not option 1 or 2 for cornerback anymore.
Okay. Can I interest any of you guys in a defensive lineman day 1?
At number 10, no.
At 10, no?
No.
At 10, no. If I trade back, okay. If I trade back, then yeah.
Okay. Hit me with it, Paul. Trading back, how far down would you go? Teens, 20s? How far are you willing to go to grab that first defensive, because that is a need at the moment. Although corner, I feel is a bigger need, just as an option.
No further than 15 or 16. I'd be happy with been between 15 and 16.
Okay.
That's the most.
Let me just get up.
Just to please our boy Brian, if you're going to go defensive line, I'd be happy to go down all the way to 28, 29 and take it on the side.
That would be a massive trade. That would be a massive. We would get a lot.
So none of you see Slim McNeil or Barmore as an option at all?
Barmore maybe, but see, you'd have to look at
McNeil I've seen going as in the third round even. So
yeah.
In fact, I mean the NFL UK mock that's going on. We just actually Dan Turner, who's doing that, he's just picked him up with the 115th pick. So what's that? That's fourth round. So I don't think he's going to last that long. You know, all the drafts that I see, he's coming that I'm doing on. I do a couple of drafts a day on the Pro Football Focus site, and you know, he's normally there third round. If you're lucky, he's still there at the third round, and I think that's where he's likely to go.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at all the comments and that, and I think they do all have a good point. Like, preferably, like, if you were to give me the option, if I was to trade back, it would be for a specific player. My first option would not be defensive lineman. It would be more so if like so JC Horn was available at 15 or 16, then yeah, I would definitely take that. But it's like what Brian kind of said. There is good defensive linemen, but they're not. I wouldn't put them in the top 15. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to say, right, because I mean, everybody's quite happy with the fact of the Gerald McCoy. Yeah, that Gerald McCoy last year, everyone was like, "Oh wow." Bear in mind that who Barmore is. He is Gerald McCoy. I've got him as that. I know what people are saying, and I agree. I'm just trying to say that it could be an option if you wanted to have Barmore. I mean, some places even have him as a first rounder because the guy is extremely flexible. And he's really a pass rusher from the inside.
I
those guys are hard to find.
Honestly, mate, I honestly really don't know. As long as we don't make an arse ourselves in the draft, that's what I like. You know, like if we end up like, I know we keep talking Patson, but if we end up picking him, Jordan, I'll be like, oh fuck, because ideally, we should be doing defense, like regardless. It should be cornerback. It should be going for the need more than anything. Now, for either at 10 or trading back, whatever, we should be going for what we actually need rather than best player available, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I still say that cornerback is still a bigger need than defensive line. And defensive line, like at the top is a little flaky. There are options there, but the mid-tier guys there are a lot. And that's the same with edge too. The defensive ends at the top aren't great, but in the middle, they are spicy. You feel like you can get some good guys there. I
mean,
but okay, you.
The other thing to think is that we've picked up from McCarthy's press conference last week. We're not, you know, when we took on Quinn, we all thought we were going back to a 4-3. From the sounds of things, we're not. We're still going to be this hybrid 4-3-4. So you need guys that are flexible, that can play the 5 technique defensive end, kick inside to a 3 technique tackle, an edge linebacker who can put his hand on the ground, which by all accounts is Terrell Basham that we signed from the Jets is, and that's somebody that the Cowboys were looking at in the draft a few years ago.
And for needs, I think actually, I know we keep talking about hits. Sorry, Paul.
No, on your road, Jamie. Sorry.
I know we keep kind of coming back to it, but I would say like needs. I would say what defense, cornerback, safety, linebacker. So you could probably say actually probably needs on this team is all defense, or you even start looking at offense.
And there's going to be plenty of options there at 10, as we said. This is why we can talk about it, because the options available to you when you're thinking 8, maybe 9, which means that by the time the Cowboys get there, you have the complete slew of all the defensive prospects there available to you at 10. Your options available to you are going to be, you got so many different routes that you can take at that point.
Potentially, yeah. I wanted to kind of just raise the fact that what Lauren just said, like the Terrell Basham sign. I think that's a really underrated acquisition to the Cowboys. I really do. Very underrated. Like,
hit me with it. What's your scouting report on him then?
I think he's like Lauren was just saying. He's got that flexible dynamic about him, which we currently don't have. Really, when you really do think about it, the only player
since Crawford retired.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
So to me, this is not a very, very expensive replacement, but at least we know that he is a workhorse, and that's what I do like about him. So I'm actually quite intrigued to see what we do with him more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
But I think his production, like when he is on the field, like it gives it his all. Like that's exactly what you want. But it really comes down to, are we going to be sticking to this 3-4 hybrid? But if so, then at least we've got someone that can actually adjust rather than try and get players who have been predominantly like a 5 tech and telling them to move like more heads up position, which is a lot more difficult, or move further inside, depending on what the strength side of the offense are. You know what I mean? So there's all these different aspects you need to think about.
I know this is a little bit off, but I apologise. But I come up and thinking we talk about I say just kind of throw the in there, but all I mean is, what would you be more pissed off about if Pitts was there and Sten was there at 10, but the Cowboys went Pitts, or if Pitts was there and Sewell was there at 10 and they went Pitts? Which one would piss you off more?
If Sewell, Slater, and Pitts are there at 10, by God, I would be taking Sewell with a pinch in a heartbeat. Because Brian just raised, and I saw Graham raising his hands up in celebration in that comment. Mm-hmm. It's like, what if Tyron Smith does not last the whole 17 games? Who were there? Like you could still push like Slater inside potentially. Who knows? There's like offensive linemen have to be flexible as well. Like I know this is a bad example, but and I know Robbie bashing him is Connor Williams. He played mostly tackle in his college career, but he's been moved into guard. So, and same with Lyle Collins, he played guard most of the time. Now he's been pushed out to tackle. So there's that flexibility as well. So it would not surprise me if one of those guys were in the top 10, Slater or Sewell. I would take one of them.
So here's my only issue, and I'll let Graham take over in a minute. My only issue is are you really at that point going to let all those players that would have been available to you, and defensive players too, you're going to let all them slip to take a backup tackle? Because bear in mind, right, if you're going to take tackle,
not a backup tackle.
You are. So you mean to tell me Sewell's better than Tyron Smith?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying.
So then you're taking a backup tackle.
No. Mike, let me finish.
Go on. I know I am.
What I'm saying is the flexibility. You could push Slater inside or Sewell inside. That's my argument. Lyle Collins was a tackle, and it was a tackle playing for us now. But he was playing guard at college. Same with Connor Williams. He was playing tackle, moved inside. That's the point. That's the point I'm trying to make.
But then you're taking an inside offensive lineman at 10.
All offensive linemen are flexible, Mike. They have to be.
Could you not?
I can get you an inside offensive lineman in just the end of day 2.
Best example, Zach Martin played tackle this season and played fantastic.
I'm not on about the flexibility. I'm just on about the position, especially offensive tackle. That is insanely deep. I would go as far to say that 15 offensive tackles are going to go in the first 100 picks.
Could you not move him to not move them, for instance, out to right tackle and move Collins inside? Because Collins, when he's played inside, has excelled pretty well. I liked when Collins moved inside. For me, it's not that he's a bad on the outside, because he's not. I mean, I think when it was more when we were not sure on the inside and he moved in, he showed up that inside a lot more for me and gave me more confidence than having him out on the right side and plug in the middle. So I get what you say, but if rather than moving Sewell inside, you'd not rather put outside and Collins in? Just he's a beast. He's Collins, isn't
he? Yeah, and I mean, as far as what all the reports are coming in, Collins is getting back to normal.
Graham's point yet?
Yes, we'll get to Graham. Go on, Graham.
Okay. My take on offensive tackle is that at 10, my first option, I think, has always been trade down, maximize the top 10 pick. I think it's always been that. I may be wrong. I may have been screaming for a tackle at 10. Don't even pick up the phone. My case for offensive tackle at 10, it would be my second choice. I have to admit, it would be my second choice.
Yeah.
Is when Tyron Smith goes down, not if, when, because the guy hasn't played 16 games for 5 years. He played 2 games last year. I mean, let's face it. Even I look good in the gym. You know, I don't have defensive ends running full pelt at me in the gym either. You know, and I'm not being cheeky. I'm just saying it's all good press coming out from the gym. They're working hard. I think it's brilliant that they're back to full strength. But when it's go time in the autumn and the winter, Tyron Smith will not give you 16 games in a row. He simply will. The stats are there. He simply will not do it. We talk all the time about. I mean, just for instance, last year, we had the Packers take a quarterback in the first round. Didn't see the field last year. Now, guaranteed they got a certain amount of heat for it, but we're going to need a replacement for Tyron Smith at some point. Yeah, we are. We're going to need it. So
yeah, I totally agree.
There's every chance that Sewell, Slater, whoever comes in and starts at left guard, because I'm not convinced with Connor Williams. I'm not convinced with Connor McGovern. They simply haven't earned the starting jersey for me. And if you want to throw the best 10 guys in for the mix and see who rises to the top, there's every chance Sewell, Slater is one of those 5 guys.
I'd agree. If you can trade back, there's the Notre Dame tackle in the second round. If you're trading back five picks or so, you're bound to pick up a second rounder. So you'll end up with two second rounders to play with. You can go defense with one. You can pick up an offensive tackle. As Mike says, there's probably going to be about 15 offensive tackles taken in the first 100 picks. Now, second, you know, as we've just said, if you're picking somebody in the first round, you expect them to start, particularly if you're taking them high. You know, the pressure there is that, yes, you've got to kick Connor Williams out to get your best 5 on the field, probably. Connor Williams has stated that, you know, he's coming in again. This is all the preseason hype and everything. He's coming in his best shape. You know, aspirations of the Pro Bowl this year and everything like that. But we haven't seen it in the 3 years
Connor Williams
before.
Pro Bowl? Is he high?
Well, That's what he's saying. That's what he set his sights on this year. Is that he's obviously it's a contract year for him. So he either he's got to prove himself here to get another second contract, or he's got to get the tape up so that somebody's going to pick him up next year for some big money, again with the increased caps next year.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That's that last comment what Lon, and then that's what worries me about contract years. Like I say, now he's coming out and saying blah 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 blah. Now are we going to get we're going to get an outstanding season where it kind of forces the Cowboys to re-sign him for a big deal because he sees his potential, or then he's going to get that big deal and just absolutely flake out. Why do these players play contract year but don't want to play the rest of the time?
It does happen. It is one of the things.
But to your point, Mike, I totally agree with you that defensive tackle is a high need. Problem is there isn't one there, so we're kind of scrambling. On day one, yeah. So we're kind of scrambling about looking at different options. Where, I mean, if there was a defensive tackle who deserved to be in a top 10 pick and we needed him, it's a slam dunk. But there isn't the guy there, if you know what I mean, that comes in and plays straight from the start. So this is where the conversation's coming from.
Yeah.
If you were gonna go need versus talent, it's a cornerback. It's definitely a cornerback.
I'm still there in terms of cornerback. Yeah, it is day one. Yeah, but I still think that offensive tackle, I'm taking off the board purely in the terms of depth, and just like Lorne said, Notre Dame offensive tackle Liam Eichenberg, and tested off the charts. There's a guy you can get in day 3 and is just as good. Bear in mind, Eichenberg was on the Notre Dame offensive line that was voted the best offensive line this year. They won the award for it, and he was part of that.
I think another part of it is that our kind of slam dunks on the offensive line have been first round picks, and our question marks have been second and third. Slam dunk on the Beard, on Smith, on obviously Collins was a first round talent. On do you get what I mean? Whereas like when we've left it to the later rounds, they haven't, in my opinion, they haven't hit on it, and I think that plays into the Cowboys fans' mind as well. If you go first round, it's pretty much a slam dunk because we know how to pick them in the first round.
Day 2, they do always take risks. They've been known to always take risks.
We've had busts picking offensive linemen before, though. I mean, Jacob Rogers was a first rounder back in, was that Parcells' year, or was that tail end of Campbell? And he just had no interest in being hit at all. He turned out to be quite a soft guy. Didn't the attitude at all to play offensive line in the big leagues.
And I mean, don't forget that we're all talking about this, that you've got Lyle Collins, right, who is our right tackle at the moment. You got him in an undrafted free agent.
Yep.
So that's why I think, yes, I totally agree. You need to protect yourselves. Yes, we do have at the moment a guy that we've got in free agency to play swing tackle in Neshke. But yes, I do think they still need to draft an offensive tackle to protect themselves. But I'm not taking a guy for it's the if and the when with Tyron Smith. But you're not going to be taking that guy at 10 to take Smith's place because Smith is too good as a tackle. I want a guy that's going to help me to win games in the regular season.
I'll try and stay measured, and I will agree on you that point, Mike, when you cross-reference it with who's coming in free agency. To my knowledge, we haven't signed a single corner.
Mm-mm.
And when you consider we could get Surtain, we could get JC Horn, who is rocketing up the draft boards. It's hard to argue against that when we have. I mean, when we did the last mock, I still can't believe we haven't brought in a corner. I mean, see, when you consider how bad our secondary was last season,
Well,
in terms of it's only got worse. You know, it's not been upgraded. If anything, it's downgraded because Cheeto's away. So that's a bit scary.
You need the corner's a big way. Defensive back, because I still think that safety's not off the table. That's still there.
I think we'll be looking at safety on day 2. I think Richie Grant, Elijah Molden, Ardarius Washington, maybe even. I think they're guys you got to think about.
Richie Grant, Mike sold me on Richie Grant a few weeks ago, and like, yeah.
I mean, like, here's the other side of the coin, right? Let's look at day 2 for you guys, right? So the second and third round options, right? Let's say, for argument's sakes, we don't go down the road of taking a corner, and they end up taking, I don't know, Micah Parsons or Jeremiah Usakuramura, because that's who they've decided to take. They're saying with Parsons, they're happy with the attitude problems and all the rest of it. They're happy with that, and they're going to stick with this character guy. And you go, okay, great. I can see what you're doing. I'm not going to argue against that pick. Now you're into day 2, and we've still got a corner issue. My guy's still, even now, that if they didn't take a corner early, Eric Stokes, for me, is ticking boxes up and down, and even after all, not just the take, but after all, you know, the testing as well. But go on, Gray. I know you've got one there for me.
Before you finish your question, do you think that Mike McCarthy's press conference and that we're going to possibly stay with the hybrid, do you think that moves Micah Parsons up our board? Because of the Swiss Army knife element.
Yep.
My only issue with Parsons is that he is really good. Like, we did the highlight video on him, and the guy is an athletic machine. He's a monster. My only issue is that I think that if they were going to use him, I can't see them using as a thumper, more as a Sam linebacker. That's just how I see them. Or I can't be taking a Sam linebacker at 10.
It's high. It's high.
It's high to take a Sam.
I was going to say that, just saying that if Micah Parsons was pushed forward, I'd be happy to go back for him. But pissed if it's at 10.
The knock on Parsons is he's not very good in run support.
Yeah,
he's great. He can match up against guys like Pitts or whatever that you want, or slot corners or anything like that. So you don't necessarily need to take somebody off the field to substitute the defense. But you know, when it comes to running the ball, that clip that Paul showed last year of Jalen Smith not knowing what the hell to do, I think you'd see a lot more clips like that with Parsons.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he is good at. You know, the clog and cover. You know, and you see a lot with linebackers. And you hear this statement a lot with linebackers. It's slow until you know. And you see that with linebackers a lot. So it's all about staying square to the line and shuffling your feet and just waiting to see what happens. And Micah Parsons does do that. Funnily enough, there's another linebacker who I was quite high on last year till he got injured. And he was a guy that absolutely slow till you know, absolutely filled that perfectly. And Parsons does do that. But I think for some reason, when it comes to in run support, that he'll do the slow until you know, and then he just seems to just lack that final piece to click it all together. So I do agree with you there. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I mean, so I don't even want to talk about the other linebacker. He broke my heart this year.
So he's not an Isaiah Simmons.
He's definitely not. No,
he's not a chuck in anywhere.
No. What you've got to do with Parsons, I think, is that if you're going to drag any team, not just the Cowboys, you need to have a plan for him. You really need to sit there and go, what's our plan for him? And not just with his character issues and all the rest of it, but as a player, you need to really sit down and go, this is how we're going to use him. Because if you use him wrong, it's going to absolutely burn you.
Especially at 10. Ouch.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? You know, and we'd be using him as a Sam, and I just can't get on board with the idea of taking a Sam linebacker at 10.
Yep, absolutely.
So let's look at some other options, though. Let me just shuffle some stuff around because I've got things going on here. So, what would be your ideal way? Forget about what's happening in round 1, round 2. What would be your ideal in round 2? What would be the best options there, position-wise?
Just more defense.
We go in double defense.
Yeah.
Is there any chance Barmore's there?
He would be there. Yeah.
Just
hard to argue with that.
Just try to work on what Graham said there, and so you Barmore, then let's say depending on just for instance, if we went corner in round 1, then what about a Leatherwood or a Cosme?
Cosme will be there. And you see, Leatherwood is another good guy. And what's funny is taking offensive tackle in day 2, because you can shuffle these guys around. I'm totally on board with. I'm struggling to come to terms here of taking one to take an offensive tackle at 10 because of where you're going to be leaving him. Leatherwood, Cosme, all guys, and Cosme, there's a guy that just needs to have some development time. So a perfect time to do it.
Other options, are you looking at a Greg Newsom if you don't go corner first round?
There's another great guy.
Asante Samuel Jr. Possibly.
Yeah, I like Asante. Yeah, I mean, we spoke about him in our group chat this week.
Yep.
Barmore would if you're always talking BPA, would wide receiver be on the table, or is wide receiver still completely out?
Again, it all depends on Gallup, doesn't it? It all depends. Is somebody going to give us draft capital, or are we going to get him locked up? That's the 2 questions I need answered first.
I'll be honest. I'll be perfectly honest with you guys. I think this is the first year in a long time. I have no idea what direction what we're going to do, given what's going on with the team. Like you just said there, Graham, there's the Michael Gallup situation, there's our defense situation, there's the Tyron Smith scenario. There's just, where are we going to go? I am at the point where I'm just like, as long as we cater our needs, I'll be happy.
But do you still think, regardless of what we've done in free agency, do you still think linebacker is a very sneaky need?
Oh, absolutely. For numbers wise, definitely. We only had 5 linebackers in the actual main 53-man roster last season.
Yeah. So what if we was to flip it, right? Let's say we've gone the linebacker, and then in the next round it would definitely have to be corner. So would it not be flipped the other way around? That if we'd say we took Patrick Surtain or JC Horn in the first, does it not flip the other way then? That if we take in corner in the first, linebacker second in the second, because there's some absolutely awesome linebacker options in the second round.
I was just going to say that I was going to throw another name in just before you brought that question up, because it seems to be a tweener from late first, early second, so it probably take a trade up in the second. But what about Zayvon Collins from Tulsa?
I'm not sold on Zayvon Collins.
What about
my issue?
Sorry, mate.
Go on. No, you go.
What if we're talking about a hybrid still? What about a Jabril Cox from LSU?
But that was the guy I was going to start talking about. Jabril Cox in the second is an ideal role, and not just the style of player that he is, the way he came up. I mean, this is a guy that came up the hard way to play linebacker at LSU. And bear in mind that on the LSU defense, he ended up being one of their star players.
But one of the things about Cox, and I see it's coming up here, both Brodus and Dane Brugler have said that they're not sold on him, and I mean that Brodus is a LSU homer a lot of the time.
Yeah.
He's seen all of them. He just feels that picking him at 44 is too high. Picking him in the third round is a more likely opportunity. He thinks anybody who picks him in the second round is likely to be reaching for that.
I can see what they're saying. I can see what they're saying because there are questions with Jabril Cox's game. You've got other options available really to you, which I think you'd have to trade up to get, but the likes of Ohio State's Baron Browning. And that guy has been testing really well too.
Just to back on what Lauren was saying, Daniel Jeremiah has him sliding as well.
Who's that now? Baron Browning?
He's in.
He's in.
He's decided to join in. Yeah. But here's another one where people are ignoring as well that I think you need to pay attention to because you can never have enough of them is pass rushers. And I think really into the third round, so on day 2, pass rusher becomes completely available to you.
Just remember as well. We
too rich for Nick Bolton.
Say that again, Jay.
Just say, would you throw Nick Bolton in there, or would that be a bit too rich where we are in the second?
So what in the second, Nick Bolton?
Yeah.
Let me tell you where I have it.
Too rich.
Because on CBS he's ranked 50 overall. Would you say maybe it's a little bit rich there in the second?
Trying to go through, like for me, I think the third round, Nick Bolton in the second. Yeah, actually, I would.
Yeah. Sorry, Paul. I'm saying that. Sorry.
I can't even remember what I was going to say though.
I just wonder.
Well, I mean,
has Brian come in to get something off his chest?
Yeah, he's joined in after seeing the comments coming in, so he's got something he wants to say.
I love it.
What's the issue then, Brian?
No, I've just joined. I've just joined in because I've been watching for an hour and Mike.
Oh no! So say that again. We lost you at Mike.
Actually wants to do.
We don't even know what you just said there because you just completely frozen out.
You cut out.
You keep cutting out. You keep cutting out.
I said I've watched for an hour. Ah, fuck.
Come on, Brian.
Brilliant. So he's joined in because he's watched for an hour.
No. So I've watched.
Oh no!
For an hour.
No! Gone.
Oh no!
But the one of the guys we was talking about as day 1 was Slim.
Wait, what the hell?
No.
What the hell are you doing, Mike?
What the hell?
I'm not doing it. I'm not touching anything.
Jamie will relate to this one.
I touched nada. This was not
video.
me. Anyway, go on.
There was a video put up on Twitter this afternoon, and it's 3 English guys on it was some kind of streaming service, and one of them is tearing into who's the Man United centre back that plays for England?
Oh, Aaron Maguire.
They were tearing into Maguire, and he pops up with a winner against Poland, literally as they're tearing them to shreds. Brilliant.
But I mean, look, for day 2, we talked about him because nose tackle or a one tech is a big need for the Cowboys, especially a run stuffer. And we talked about him in the first round. In the second round, are you taking Slim McNeil, or are you still waiting another round for that sort of guy?
I think he'll still be there in the third round.
You still think he'll be there?
I do. I think he'll still be there. Again, as I say, all the mock drafts I've been doing, and you can now sort of focus them so that you're going more by the PFF rankings and everything like that. So you're not just going by any randomness or anything like that. The more and more I see he is there in the third round for us. Now, admittedly, he's probably there the top of the third round, and I've probably picked him up because I've picked up extra picks from trading back from 10.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's why I'm happy with the idea of taking JC Horn, because if I'm doing that to get the extra pick in the second to go up, to corral picks to go back up. And that is the way I'd be doing it. And then in the third round, that's where I'm looking at my defensive line, be it defensive tackle or edge, because I think defensive end is still a need that people aren't talking about.
When we talk about defensive end, it's almost like I think we'd all love to see Randy Gregory play 16 games.
I remember
100%.
what I wanted. I remember what I wanted to say now. Bradley and A.
Yes.
Why? Like
Who's that?
Drafted him last year.
Yeah. I don't know. I did try to get out of people what the issue was with him, and nobody can actually say. They're just saying that he needed more. He just needed more development. Well, that means I don't know.
So again, this could be a season where he actually makes his homecoming going on in the field. Who knows?
But obviously, I mean, like, I'm still like, when it comes to defensive end and pass rushes, you can just never have enough of them. Doesn't matter, rotational, get them in there. And I just think that still it's an option that the Cowboys need to be looking at, especially into round 3, where they still even have a number of those compensation picks that they can use. Whether they decide to use that to get more players or to use it in a trade to go up, really into round 3 is an option in both circumstances I quite like.
Can I just say, like, when you said about round 3, I'm going to blame you for this, Mike. Just round 3, Richie Grant all the way. That's where it's got to be.
I think Richie Grant won't be there in round 3.
I think
you'll be gone. You'll be gone.
He's top 50, I think.
I mean, you do have other options, mind you, at free safety if you want that centre fielder. Because one of the guys that a lot of people are completely sleeping on that you can use as an option is Jamin Holland from Oregon. People aren't talking about him, and I actually have him as a one of those fringe second, third round guys, and he can be available if Richie's gone.
Yep.
I mean, this conversation is so wide open because no position has been shut down on the defense. It's not. There's not one position where we can go, no, that's us. We're done. Forget about it. We're good to go.
Oh, cornerback one set is definitely taken by Diggs. That's about it.
I mean, to my knowledge, we've kind of improved it with Neil, and I mean, we needed a body, and we got Kazee in, but to my knowledge, there's not been any improvement on the defensive line. The secondary, across the linebacker core. You could argue Basham.
I honestly, Graham, I think Basham is a great coup. I really do. I think
just looking at his numbers,
just because he's not really as known, but like Lauren said, we were looking to draft him a couple of years ago, and somehow we've just managed to get him now. So hopefully we can actually use him like the way we want to use him, you know. So, but yeah, I'm actually really happy about that one.
65% of snaps, and it's just under $3 million we've paid for him. So it's not pocket change. That's a decent. I mean, for us, that's a decent amount of money spent in free agency. So that's why it's so wide open, because we all know what our defense was like last year, and there's been, shall we say, limited improvement in free agency. So there's every chance, like 75 up 75% upwards of the picks could be defense.
Well, here's one for you, Lorne. What about day 3? Right, we miss on Richie Grant. People are sleeping on Javon Holland. They decided it's not a guy. What about a guy that gets talked about? There's 2 guys. I'll start off with the first one. Is Hamza Nasruddin, and I quite like this guy from Florida State. Would you say that guy is an option in round 3, or is he an option at the beginning of day 3?
I think I think he has been available in the 3rd round again when I've been doing my mocks and everything like that. Again, I'm quite high on him as well.
Me too.
I've got him in sort of late 2nd, early 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be quite happy with that pick if we got him. The other guy, and I can't remember his name properly, is Johnson.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Safety as well. I could see us taking him. Again, he's probably maybe later 3rd round, I think. But again, he seems to have quite a good upside as well for the sort of safety position.
Just trying to go through my lists to find out where I got because you see, the guy I'm higher on than the most. I know who you're on about is Jamar Johnson.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. He is good. But the guy, because he's right on my list, he's right behind Richie Grant. But a guy that is also there available, I think I'm not sure where to put him. I kind of bounce between like a late 2nd round, early 3rd round guy is Ifetai Melifonwu, who's another guy that I think could be available. And although he plays corner, I think that's a guy, because he's so long and rangy, that you can use. I think they could use him. You know, like how we did with Byron Jones. They pushed him out. I think he could be used in that sense. But let me get from you guys. Right, let's start off with the 1st round. And I'll go round to try and get a collective from you all of what you want to do. And then we'll move into the 2nd and then the 3rd. In the 1st round, what's everybody taking? I'll start with you, Paul.
No trade. Are we doing trade or no trade?
It's entirely up to you.
Oh, fuck. Right. I honestly don't know, mate. I'll be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, okay, great. You hit me with it. What are you doing?
Me personally, I'm waiting for the phone to ring. I'm hoping to fall to the mid-teens, maybe the late teens, and hope that JC Horn is still there.
That would be a dream. That would be a dream scenario, Graham. That would be a good one.
I saw your pal Paul. He made a comment that you can't trade down hoping for the one player because you don't know who's where on other boards. So it's got to be a collective. And I'll be perfectly honest, I haven't worked out who my 3 guys would be. I think to trade down, you need at least 3 guys that you'd love to have.
Yeah.
So I'll be perfectly honest, I haven't worked out who the other 2 would be, because for me, it's an offensive tackle, a cornerback, or nothing else in the 1st round for me.
Yeah.
But I would be looking to trade down. If not, I'm going to stick to my guns and I'm going to say offensive tackle. Because we've spent $160 million in Dak Prescott. We missed him for most of the season. You have to look after your strengths. The Cowboys are an offensive team. And when, I'll keep saying it, when Tyron Smith goes down, you need options, because the likelihood is you're going to need another option in December when it's crunch time, when we're playing NFC East games. So I want to go full pelt on offense this year. I want to be Team 40 Burger, and I want to make sure that Dak Prescott is there for the entire season.
Okay. Lon, what are you doing in round 1?
I think I would again I would probably trade down 3-4 spots maybe. Again, I'd be hoping that I could get Sertan or JC Horn. And then with the second round picks, and there's potential you could move back up into the first round.
There is.
You pick up, so and again, if you trade down, and again, whoever it is gone off the board, trade down again and pick up some more picks and move around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. No, that's cool. I mean, Jamie, and we'll come back to the double trade down in a moment. Who are you taking in round one? Who's your guy, or what are you doing, mate?
I'll throw just a few options just because of how Graham explained this. So if I know I've been on the Kyle Pitts board, and that's on for the fact that on what I mean by that is I see Paul's face. I'm thinking more so if he's there, I think the Cowboys would find it hard to pattern him. But stay at 10. But I would entertain a trade back, and I would be willing to trade back for Jason Bourne, Rashawn Slater, or Aziz Ojulari.
I do like Ojulari.
I've got his name right. Get his name right.
Yeah, yeah. I am a fan of Ojulari, and I've been quite vocal about that.
Those would be my
well, hold on, mate. So when you said I'm not entirely too sure what I want to do, like it's pretty much what all the guys are kind of saying. Like if Sertan's there at 10, I wouldn't be mad if we picked him. I wouldn't be mad if we picked offensive tackle. I wouldn't be mad about that. As long as we don't do anything stupid, really. And when it comes to
a sensible, strong pick.
One we actually need, rather than just say, "Oh, best player available." He's going to be the X. And I'm going to go over a wee bit of a tangent here. Like, say we do draft Kyle Pitts, right? When is he ever going to catch the ball when you've got Cooper, Lamb, and Gallup? Like,
I think
like the expectation level for that type of tight end is going to be ridiculous. You expect him to get a 2,000 yard season or something ridiculous. You know what I mean? But anyway, that's besides my point. But anyway, but when it comes to number 10, I'm more in favour of trading back. In all honesty, because the other point is like we don't. Well, it's not much of it's not a big massive hit in the cap, but we're actually are still going to be saving money if we do a trade down. And the idea of a double trade down, I'm in support of that as well. Like, it may be a long night for us, like if we are trading back and back and back, but it means we've got more freeway to go about what we can do to accommodate those needs and get particular players that we actually want. So it's, again, it does kind of sum up. I really don't have a clue what we're going to do. you know
what? A few of you have mentioned his name in a feedback. Would anybody be happy to take Jason Horn at 10?
I wouldn't be mad.
If it happened, it happened. Like, let's say in that particular scenario, say Denver, right? Although they've taken a cornerback in free agency, they still have, he's an aging cornerback. They still have nothing beyond that. So let's say they take Sertan at 9, and now you, as the Cowboys, you're thinking, right, well, we're back down the options again. We've spoken about the Parsons options and the reasons why it's good and also bad to take him. So you could turn around, because Farley, what are people doing with that? You could turn around and go, well, let's not trade back because we could lose our cornerback here. Let's take Horn now. Yeah. Then I can see a scenario why, and I could see the reasons behind why they would do that.
Because you've got to also obviously think about the fact that although we're so high, although the phone will probably go, we might not get what we want to be able to move back. So I say, so rather than risk losing him,
yeah. No, I can see if there's a scenario for a reason why. If it's because it's just that that Horn is their guy, and that was the reason why, I'd have to look into those reasons why. But say Sertan went to the Broncos at 9, and that was the option there, and that would be their reason behind it, then I'd be like, I can understand why. You'd be like, okay, that makes perfect sense.
I wouldn't be mad if he did pick Horn. I wouldn't be mad about it. Like, I'd be like,
if that's their guy, that's their guy.
Yeah, I mean, at least it addresses the need.
That too.
I can see why Brian would be mad about it, because we could probably maybe get him a couple of places back. Yeah, for sure. But nothing's guaranteed in the draft. There's a gamble where some team might actually trade up to go and get Horn, for example.
Yeah.
Just look
they might trade up. So in a way, like, and when you compare it in terms of the top 20 players and all that type of stuff, but then again, not many people gave other certain players in the top 20, and they're balling out right now. Like, for example, like, wasn't like TJ Watt, was he no drafted outside the top 20? Like
TJ Watt, yeah.
So
he was drafted after Tackle, and Tackle was what, 20? I want to say 24, 27th or something.
And just to use that scenario as well, what Paul just said then, just look at a couple of years ago how badly we needed safety. And Owen James kept on falling, and it got to the point where it's like, he's going to drop it. And the Chargers took him to pick for us. It's like, then do you risk, like I say, you risk losing, and then you have to kind of go for your backup, don't you? So it's like you said, it's given, is it?
And what's funny is we're talking about like our options here at number 10 like this, just the same as all the other teams. I like that you can guarantee the 49ers right now going Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and it's the same conversations that everybody's having right now.
Even last year, you could even argue about the whole fact why CD Lamb fell into us as well. Like you would have thought, like, so the Raiders would have picked Lamb over Ruggs, for example, or who was the other one?
Judy. Jerry Judy
for the Broncos. So,
just we mentioned the Niners there. I just love the fact, because you always like a laugh in a draft, don't you? And out on the Niners are moving up for a quarterback. You don't give up that to not to, but how awesome would it be if the draft went that far and took hits? And it's like you've given away all that for a tight end.
See, at the same time, I can actually laugh at all of us in general, because we're not the ones who's actually scouting these players. We're not actually at these pro days looking close at hand. We're just taking on video footage and based on media, what they're telling us, and scouting reports of summaries. We're not actually getting what we personally think of that player from an open mind. So, like Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn maybe going to all these different pro days and stuff like that, and they may actually see someone else who's even thought be thinking about. Who knows? Do you
know what the perfect thing for that is? Is you just take Frederick draft a couple years ago. Pretty much all the teams, bar about 3, had Travis Frederick as a 3rd round prospect. And everybody slagged the Cowboys after taking him, and the Cowboys come out and said, we got wind that there were a couple of teams that were willing to come up and get him. We had to take him.
Because I remember, because we were all in shock. I was like, Travis, what? Really?
Yeah.
But then there you watched him, and he ended up being one of the best players we've ever had playing in an offensive line.
The 49ers trade kind of reminds me. Do you remember that time that the Eagles went up to 2 and they effectively didn't know who they were going to get? That's what the 49ers trade reminds me of. It's like, well, if you take Goff, we'll have Wentz, and if you take Wentz, we'll have Goff. It's pretty expensive. It's a pretty expensive thing to do when you're waiting on somebody else. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, right, okay, we'll take Goff then. But they've given up so much capital to do that.
Yeah. But here's one though, right? Give me who you would take in day 2. I'll give you my guy. That I'm going off the premise of how I'm picking. So they've taken, in my particular way that I've done it, is they've taken cornerback, because it is just a glaring need. It's a huge issue, not just in terms of talent, but just bodies that they need corner. So they're taking corner. So my 2nd round guy that I'm looking at, I'm thinking safety. So I'm going Trayvon Moehrig, or Yeah, Trayvon Moehrig or Richie Grant. But what are you guys going down? Who's your second round guy that you would want them to take? And I'll start off with Graham.
Well, if we've gone corner in the first round,
however you want, however you've done it in your head.
Right. Okay. I'll play it. I'll play it differently. So, I don't think the Cowboys will go tackle. I think that they've ignored cornerback in free agency. So I think they're looking at Surtain or Horn. So let's say they do that. Just I would say you're looking at maybe a Tevin Jenkins.
Okay, I like it.
Maybe a Nick Bolton.
Okay.
Because they have addressed their biggest need with a first. So if they're looking to fill holes as well as take the best available, I mean, obviously we don't know who's going to fall out.
Yeah.
But if they've got a first round talent available in the second round and he plays defense, that'd be really difficult to not take, because they've got to go by their own grade. And the way we've looked at defense in free agency, I think I'll say it again. I don't think there's been a section of the defense that's been shut down, that's been ticked, that's got a massive green tick next to it. So I would take whoever my highest rated defensive player was, or a tackle. I know that's not very clear, but
that's fine.
If somebody were to fall out of the first round, that would be hard to ignore. And obviously we can't do that. We can't
It's just
what
like
I mean?
It's a roundabout scenario. But who are you taking, Lorne, at the top of round 2 with their pick?
I think like you, I've certainly looked to the safety side of things as my first option. I have to say I think Moehrig's probably late first. So
I think so too.
I think he might be off the board. So you're probably talking Richie Grant, Molden, and
Holland,
or even Ardarius Washington. Now, I mean, he seems to have split the guys on the draft on the Cowboys draft show. You
can see why.
Yeah, he seems to be he's a good center field player, but you know he's small, and that seems to be you can if you pop the ball up there an extra 2 inches or so. The thing, if we're talking about Farley, the only reason why Moehrig might drop is that he's experiencing back issues at the moment. At his pro day, he had very pedestrian testing for the vertical leap. I think he only had a 38-inch vertical leap, where a lot of the cornerbacks and safeties are going 42, 41. Even I think somebody's had a 45-inch vertical leap. So I mean, again, you've got that issue as well with him. So yes, he may drop. I think safety's my first idea.
Yeah.
Again, as I've told earlier as well, I'd be happy taking a tackle. And again, I think the Eichenberg from Notre Dame would be a good pick. Possibly as well. Now he's had injury issues as well. But if you're maybe looking to shore up the centre of the line and they have the possession flex, Landon Dickerson as well, the centre from Ohio. He was a transfer from, I want to say it's Florida State. He was a graduate transfer. So he played guard initially in his first college, and then went on to obviously come in and play centre last year.
Yeah, he played in Florida and Alabama.
Yeah, Florida and Alabama. That's it.
Yeah, Florida State. The Seminoles.
Florida State. Yeah. So he's played guard, and he's got the centre experience as well. From what they're saying, the reason why Joe Looney maintained the starting spot last year when Biadish came back from injury is that Biadish has difficulty with the shotgun snaps at the moment. Now, okay, that's a rookie. It's not something Wisconsin ever did because Wisconsin are a pound the football college team. Maybe this in the off season he's working with Dak and working on the shotgun snaps, but that was one of the things was Dalton never knew where he was. It was having to take his eye off his receivers half the time to find where the ball was coming to him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's somebody like Dickerson who has the experience of shotgun snaps and everything like that provides you that Joe Looney for a lot cheaper than Joe Looney.
Yeah, definitely.
So again, that's another possibility.
There we go. And then I'll come to Jamie and Paul then for the day, for the round. I keep saying day. Round 3 options. Which direction would you be going into round 3? I'll start with you, Jay. Based on what we're saying, that we've gone corner, possibly linebacker, and safety positions. All those boxes are ticked. What are you doing now in round 3? What are your options?
Just before I go to that, can I be a pain in the ass and can I just throw in another one for round 2?
Yeah, go for it.
Even I'm going to go on the pretense as well here of 10. I'm not opposed as well. Like the options guys are putting there, I'm happy. I won't be pissed going corner back to back and taking in Newsom or in the Salty Samuel either.
Yeah,
and doubling up.
I quite like the idea of back-to-back corners. It fills a massive need or massive hole.
I wouldn't be. Yeah, round 3. If I went back to back, maybe safe. Like I say, doubling up.
Mm-hmm. The defensive back position.
Yeah, just for the fact that I've saying this anyway, but I just think there's maybe a bit more value there than maybe looking at the defensive line.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'd be doing. We say early with my round 3 picks.
Yeah.
I know a guy that I keep talking about that impressed even at the Senior Bowl and very Fletcher Cox-esque was Marvin Wilson. I still like him as a round 3 option there, and it fills that one nose tackle position.
Or if you don't address the offensive line in round 2, and I know we keep talking about him, but what about Quinn Mariners? Is it? I can't remember his name.
Quinn Miners. I was even thinking of him, even second round, perhaps.
Ooh, second round is very early for Quinn. But hit me with it, Paul. What do you like about Quinn since we brought him up all the way back in the Senior Bowl?
Well, he's a powerhouse inside the defensive lineman, which is something that we've lacked, especially in the inside. More so on the left. We're fine with Zach Martin's side. It's just more so in the left guard position. So it's definitely if we were even third round we were to get him, then great, even better.
Yeah.
But
I think that the third, you could even possibly get him if you take him early enough. Day 3 is where Quinn Miners could be. I think that's the sweet spot for him, because you got to remember with Quinn is he's very underdeveloped.
According to PFF, he is rated number 53 overall.
That's a bit rich for me.
From the PFF, that's the PFF we're talking about, though. Pro Football Focus.
I've seen a couple of.
So they know more than we know.
It's just a very, very rich. I get the reason why you'd have him high, but you got to remember he's completely underdeveloped. And the thing you got to look at with Quinn is he's only had 1 year of playing center, so throwing the ball between his legs and taking snaps. He's only done it for 1 year.
I'm saying playing him as guard.
Yeah,
as guard, then he's got less to do. Then I can see where you're going there. Yeah.
See, I've seen a couple of analysts have said that he won't go out around 2. I get you saying he's Like a few told him he won't make that round 2.
And he's got the height for it. He's 6'3".
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing I was going to say, like, when it comes to, like, if he was, like, for the second round, I support what Lauren and Graham were saying. I wouldn't be mad if we went safety, but
yeah,
I want to propose something here.
Yeah, come on.
Based on Brian's comment here, it's like they want to take a safety as much as we need to.
I don't know about that anymore.
No, but listen, this is what I'm proposing, right? For the live show, if we end up taking a safety in the second round, we need to drink a shot. That's it. We need to drink a shot.
Drop a 30 on the curb.
Run outside, ball it naked, why not?
That is when we're not live. That those things happen. But right then, listen, guys, because we babbled on long enough, and everybody's having some great opinions. Awesome amount of comments again, guys. The influx was absolutely amazing. DJ Dog, as always, hitting it with some more interesting takes as well. Milton Williams from Louisiana Tech is another great guy as well.
Small schools are producing some good players there for 3, 4, 5th round. You know what I mean? That can really help. Maybe not as a star, but like you say, special teams are coming in for snaps here and there. So there's some good talent to be had in them later rounds.
But what you always look at is, no matter what, is I think the big thing you see a lot of people all saying is it's all running the same thing. A lot of people are always saying, whatever round we're talking about, people are going defensive tackle, cornerback, safety, linebacker. You're not seeing many offensive comments there. But thanks again, everyone, guys. But before we go anyway, we'll do the usual talking, paying bills and all the rest of it. So first of all, Cowboys Experience, guys. If you're going to go to a game this year, make sure you book it through Cowboys Experience. They've got game day tickets, stadium tours and tailgate parties you won't want to miss. And as always, as we say, if you go to one, make sure you tag us in it, and it goes straight to the top of our social media across all the platforms. And as we say, guys, use the booking code UK Cowboys because you get
free stuff.
It's as simple as that.
Don't be a clown. Get free stuff.
Get some free bits and pieces. And then the last one, guys, is the big show, which is coming to you April 29th. That is draft day on Thursday. We start here in the UK at 7:30 in the morning on draft day. That's 2:30 over in Eastern time there in the, what would that be? Central time. Go back another 2 minutes. So that would be midnight. Yes, you're right. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, you've got it there, guys. We are doing a 24-hour show for draft day, all in aid for NHS. So make sure you get involved with us. We have an absolute slew of special guests. We've got giveaways, competitions, even a very big prize that is on a piece of material. That sounds a little
weird.
What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah. It sounds odd, but when you see it, you'll want to get involved. And literally all the giveaways we're doing are all for free. As long as you just get involved, stick whatever you can spare into the pot for the charity, which will all be there. And like I say, the guests we've got lined up for it are absolutely crazy. So details on that will be coming up. Now we're into draft month. We'll start releasing some more information on that, which we'll start doing over the next couple of weeks. But guys,
just before you finish, Austin asked us if we were planning going this year to any games. So to answer that,
doesn't look that way.
Well, I am planning to go for the home opener. Fingers crossed that I can actually fly. It's more so if I can actually fly over. If I can get into the USA, I'm going. But
it's finicky at the moment. At best, it's finicky. But there's loads of plans for next year because we're hoping by next year to be out not just NFL games, but the NFL international games and college games as well. So we'll talk about that too when it comes to next year. But more than anything, the plans for this year are kind of just so finicky. It's like, what can you say? So everything is really planned for next year. But it is Easter, guys, so I leave you to it. Enjoy your Easter breaks. Yeah, 4 days off work. But as we say every week for now, from Paul, from Graham, from Lorne, from Jamie, and myself, it's UK Cowboys TV. We'll see you all next week. Stay phenomenal.
See you next time.
See you
guys.